these people are talking with real clients, and they're talking with your clients, and they're talking with other people's clients, which means your prospective clients. So they can tell you what people you can't even talk to think about you.
Welcome to TBR Talks, decoding strategies and ecosystems of the globe's top tech firms, where we talk business model disruption in the broad technology ecosystem, from management consultancies to systems integrators, hyperscalers to independent software vendors, telecom operators to network and infrastructure vendors, and chip manufacturers to value-added resellers. We're answering some of the key intelligence questions we've heard from executives and business unit leaders among the leading professional services, IT, and telecom vendors. I'm Patrick Heffernan, Principal Analyst, and today we'll be talking about all things Analyst Relations with Rob Donnelly, Global Lead of PwC's Analyst Relations team. Okay, Rob, so we've known each other a long time. You know, I came from Deloitte where I was in competitive intelligence. And one thing I learned while I was there is that some people within that firm were really good at understanding competitive intelligence, how to use it, how we could be good at our job. So what are the characteristics, or what are some of the things that you found about people within your firm that are good about using analyst relations, that are good at making you good at your job?
Okay, so it's a great question, and it's turned in an unusual way, which I like. So I'm happy to try. So I think that internally within the firm, and I don't like to think about making me successful. I like to think about more, it's not about making me look good. It's what is actually genuinely going to help them. And the people that are the best clients, and that's maybe not the best word either, but the best clients are the ones that truly understand that the analysts that we're engaging with the most frequently, the ones that, the good analysts, they are trying to understand what's happening with the business. They are also trying to understand what's happening with clients. They're also trying to understand what's happening with the technology and how that's changing. And they are on the outside. They have a very different perspective. And they can shed so much light on what our business unit leaders, our industry leaders, whoever those people are. But they understand that what they're going to hear is something they can't hear within the firm. Because within the firm, it's very, very hard to take that outside in view. You have to be on the outside looking in, and you have to be looking at other things. So the ones that really are the best are the ones that truly understand what analysts are. Analysts are not report writers. Analysts are not blog writers. That's just one piece of what they're doing. There's a lot of people who just think, oh, analyst firm, they're doing a report and it's got some blobs on it.
Right.
And those people are not getting the maximum value out of it. It's the ones who really appreciate these people are talking with real clients, and they're talking with your clients, and they're talking with other people's clients, which means your prospective clients. So they can tell you what people you can't even talk to think about you.
Has there been like a time when you've sort of seen that light bulb go off with somebody internally in the firm? You're like, now they get it. Now they know exactly how to use the network of analysts that you've built.
I've had lots of, is anecdotal answers good?
Yeah.
So anecdotally, there have been absolute light bulb moments. Sitting in a fairly senior leadership meeting with a senior analyst from a big firm. And that analyst said, you know, sometimes when I look at your proposals, I think X, Y, Z. And I could see ears pricking up all around the table and questions. What did they mean when they said, when we look at your proposals? Why are they looking at our proposals?
Yeah.
So I waited until the end of the point that the analyst was making. And I said, hey, before we move on, can we just come back to this? Because I could see, and actually one of them had nudged me and said, what the hell?
Yeah.
What are they talking about? So the analyst said, well, yeah, very frequently your clients and your competitors' clients, they're sending us the proposals, and we're reading those proposals and we're advising them. So that was a real light bulb moment. Another light bulb moment I'll never forget was a dear friend of mine was in London, and they'd come in, they'd joined a leadership meeting, they were talking about the things that they were seeing in the market, and it was really great. And it came to the end of the session, which was the break for lunch. And one of the senior partners said, hey, why don't you stick around for lunch? And the answer that they gave was, I would love to, but unfortunately I've got lunch with another client. To which the partner was like, oh, I see, one of our competitors, eh? And the answer was, no, actually one of your clients.
Huh.
And the partner was like, oh, okay. And they said, well, I couldn't possibly name them, but they're a very large client in this very particular industry, and they're British, which immediately identified who the client was. So I could see the gear starting to turn in the partner's head. And he was like, can you tell me what you're doing with them? And the answer was, well, I can't go into any detail. They're just trying to make sense of their consulting spending and the way that they should be doing things. And big light bulbs going off. So there's been lots of and you need those little moments, because what happens then is you've got quite a senior guy or gal who's now talking to others and going, no, this is why you need to pay attention. This is what's really going on. These are the people that these analysts are talking to. This is the insights that they're sharing. Those light bulb moments are how we've managed to get where we are.
So is that kind of the part of the art of analyst relations, that you build that, and you're not necessarily building a network, but you're sort of planting the seeds within lots of different people across the firm, up and down different levels, that then proselytize, here's what the analysts are really doing, here's the value that I'm getting from them?
Yeah, because people will come and say that, you need to pull together a position paper or some kind of communications campaign that convinces everybody about what it is you're doing and why it's important and why you should be doing it. And I'm not dead against that, but that kind of falls into my analogy around closed doors. I always tell my team, if the door's firmly closed, just don't even try. There's way too many wide open doors where people come in. I know that the analysts and you guys can help me to achieve something here, whether it's for purely to promote my own business, or whether it's to help me to understand what's really going on, or to tell me what my clients actually think, because they won't tell me. They're too nice. So you can't. You've got to have those little moments, and then it takes time, but over time you just get more and more of these people in different parts all over the world, who, when they're in a meeting or when this comes up and somebody says something, they're like, oh no. You can get some really interesting insights. You literally can't get anywhere else. Who else is going to do that for you?
Right. And you're right that you're not going to hear that kind of directness from your own clients, even on rare occasion maybe. So I do want to pivot now to, because you've been doing this for a while, sort of looking at the analysts themselves now, moving outside the firm, and thinking about, no naming names unless you want to say mine, but characteristics of analysts that you think are just really good, the things that are common among the analysts that really rise up above.
I think that there's a very easy answer to that, and I think it's the same as applies to business people, even to politicians or whatever else. It's people who can communicate well. You can be an absolute genius and just know so much about something, but if you can't get that across to your audience, it just gets lost. And I see this all the time. So the very best analysts that I work with, particularly when I'm working with very senior leaders of the firm, are the ones who can boil that ocean down and really, really put it in context for my firm, because my firm gets grouped in with other firms. Oh, these are that group of firms. We're not. We're so different. So it's people who are able to understand everything that's going on, understand our firm, and then have a real conversation, a business conversation. It's not a data dump. On slide 64, as you can see. And you can see the partners glaze. Yeah. They're like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. I'm kind of looking, because I have to think, I need 4 bullet points. What do I need? Because when I'm finished with this meeting, I've got to go and chair a global board. I've got to go and do this. I've got to do this. What are the 4 things I need to take away? So it's the analysts who can, and they can back it up, so that if the partner says, whoa, hold on, I don't think I believe that, they can go, well, actually, I've got the data right here. I can prove it to you. Yeah. But, that is, that's a hard ability. And there's only some business. I mean, you see that in great CEOs, you see it in great business leaders, you see it in great politicians, that ability to just communicate very well, succinctly to an audience. It's like, you're talking to me. Yeah. You're not just blurbing out what was in your last report.
When you think about where the analyst community was 10 years ago or 5 years ago to now, do you think the sort of the competency, the capability, have analysts gotten better at understanding that? Or are there still a lot of analysts that just say, And let me draw a comparison. So 10 years ago, when I started here, we would go to analyst events and we'd hear on the main stage, or we'd hear the person get up on stage and they would say, we are all about solving our clients' business problems. And then the next sentence would be about technology, and it would be a eye chart slide. And you just say, well, I'd say that, but really you don't mean that. I would say 10 years now, that's changed. We don't see that nearly as much. We hear that same, we're all about solving the client's business problem, but then we actually hear more about the client's business problem. We actually hear and the technology has, probably because it's all baked in, but it's just less of an emphasis now. Do you see a same kind of change with the analyst firms where they're better at communicating and talking about the business, or is there still a lot of analysts that are just data dumping?
There are still quite a lot of analysts that will be data dumping, but I think that the reason they exist is there are still certain people at a lot of clients who want that.
All right, fair enough.
They need that.
Yeah.
They need to just get into the. I think there are many more now. I mean, I remember hearing 10 years ago, 15 years ago, from CEOs at analyst firms, it's it can't all be about technology, guys. You've got to be solving business problems. You've got to be delivering business outcomes. And it's taken a long time to change, because change is very hard. It's hard for everybody. But you can see it, I think, more and more at pretty much all the analyst firms, because they kind of had to.
Yeah.
There's been so much disillusionment with technology that it looked like it was going to be a fantastic new shiny toy, and it was a lovely shiny new toy, and they spent a huge amount of money and they put it in, and people weren't thinking about it. So, I mean, I think that maybe the consulting industry can take some credit for it, because we were barking at the analysts 15 years ago that, hey guys, you just seem to be focused on the technology here.
Yeah.
And you're missing so much of the equation, because when we're talking with our clients, we're talking, there was all kinds of pithy phrases, business enhanced technology consulting, technology led business consulting, whatever you wanted to call that combination of phrases. But it truly was, you're talking just about the technology, and there are some very tech focused vendors out there that are just selling the technology.
Right.
And we've got the relationships with the CFOs and the people that are running the businesses, and they're going, well, this is delivering nothing.
Right.
It's giving a shiny new toy to the CIO, but it's doing nothing for our business. So we were constantly talking about that, and I think the analysts were listening, and I think clients were listening. So they would go back to their analysts and say, well, hold on a minute, we've talked to PwC or whichever one of us, because there's a lot of similarities. It's hard to differentiate, but we're talking to them, and they're saying, guys, you can't just turn up with tech. You got to turn up with tech, with change, with how to change our people, with operations, systematized ways to actually make this deliver the value. So the clients force the analysts to also change their view. Because when I heard CEOs that are still around saying those things 10, 15 years ago, I was sitting there thinking, half the analysts in this audience don't believe that.
Right.
They don't believe their own CEO.
Right.
Who cares about business? At the time, who cared about business consulting?
Nobody. Yeah.
That's business. That's strategy and stuff.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with technology.
Yeah.
Now you could say, oh, well, now technology has permeated every part of business consulting. No. Business consulting has come in and said, right, here's how we're actually going to make this technology deliver value.
Right. But an important part of what you said in there too is that it had to be specific to or in the context of your firm. It couldn't just be, because you were saying these are the things that we do, and so we need to put that technology and all these other pieces together into what we do. So it couldn't just be the business problem as a whole. It had to be the context of your firm and what you do. You also said, you talked about change. So sort of last question here. The one thing that hasn't changed is the consulting business model. It's in terms of, I fully appreciate what you said, and I agree with what you said around strategy and technology and the permeation of technology. But in terms of hire really smart people and throw them at a problem and charge the client for the time and the effort that went into it, that fundamentally has not changed since whatever. I was going to say the caveman, but really since McKinsey, I guess, came onto the scene. So is it gonna change? Does it have to change? Should it change?
It's a constant conversation within our organization, as far as I can tell, everybody else's.
Yeah.
Because I spend a lot of time talking with my peers as well. It feels like, I mean, they have been evolving. Our business models have been evolving. Of course they have. It feels like further evolution is needed. Some of us, maybe more than others, need to change a little bit more. There's always some of that. I think that probably the thing that is, I mean, it gets dropped into every conversation, but what was already obvious post-pandemic. I think some of it was obvious pre-pandemic, that things were changing.
Right.
The dynamics were changing. The way that technology was coming through and everything, it meant that the whole game was changing. So you needed a different approach. You needed to build these really strong ecosystems of alliance partners and so on. You needed to build new technology capabilities internally. You needed to build new business processes to deal with that. So there was already this going on. When the pandemic came, it was like, oh my God, we're now going to go at the speed of light, and we've got to change a whole load of stuff. And we did that. So that changed a lot in the business model. And it changed all kinds of things. I mean, business model we tend to think of as some kind of esoteric thing, but at a very simple level, it changed the way that you hire people and the kind of people you hire. I mean, there's been massive changes in the kind of people we hire now as an organization. People from all walks of life, from different education backgrounds, from different career backgrounds. So all of these things were happening, and we kind of just come to this period where things are just a little bit slower than they were, but could that kind of growth post-pandemic have continued forever? Of course not. So there's like a little bit of a pause, and it's like, okay, we know what we were doing. We're going to continue to make these changes, and yes, we're going to continue to adapt to a business model. And then Gen AI has come along, and it's like, oh, okay, this we're not exactly sure what this is going to do yet. But this is clearly going to have an impact. So it's almost like business model reinvention squared. There was already a need for business model reinvention, which we talk about a lot with our clients, because we know our clients need to as well. If it's what's good for the goose is good for the gander, we've got to change the way that we deliver for those clients as well, because they want incredibly fast, they want quick results, they want to do short sprints, check, is it delivering the value, and then move to the next stage. And to do that versus the old consulting project, give us 2 years and time and materials, you've got to have a new model.
We hear that a lot from clients, from buyers of consulting services and IT services, that old mindset of this SAP implementation is going to take 3 years. That's gone. That's just completely gone. It's no longer acceptable. Last question, because you said something that I already had in my mind and absolutely triggered it. And you talked about how the analyst firms have changed. So very few people on the planet know analyst firms as well as you know analyst firms. You also know what your firm does. So if you were to advise an analyst firm or the analyst firms as a whole, how do they need to change? What's the transformation that analyst firms need to make? Think of analyst firms, pick any one of them in your own head as your firm's client, and they've come to you and said, we need to disrupt ourselves, we need to change. We don't know what Gen AI is going to mean. We don't know what the future is going to mean of analysts, of industry analysts. Of what's your advice?
I think I don't know whether this is going to be a little bit boring, but I think it aligns with one of the things I said earlier. I think most analyst firms are really good at collecting vast amounts of data, insights, information, really good at analyzing it and sitting in a room and thinking about it and drawing on whiteboards, but that translation to actionable insights, it's really hard to get. There's too few individuals. So I think that would be it. It's how do you translate? It's almost exactly the same challenges we have with our clients. I need actionable insights. I need to know what I need to do, and I need to know relatively quickly. And maybe I need to trust you so much that I don't have to go delving into all of the data behind it with you. I just need to go, okay, I know that you know your stuff. If you're saying this and it's based upon everything you're seeing, then I need to move forward with it. It's really hard to get that.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get the data dump on slide 64. And you're like, oh God, this is not helping me at all. But how do you get, I think that there are some people, individuals around the world that are good at that. There's no firm that is institutionally good at that. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think.
Yeah.
You still have those. You still have those occasions where you line something up and our team comes away cold. They're just I don't know what to do with anything I just heard. I just don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
And that's a real shame, because you see the opposite side of the coin where they can come away from an interaction and they're like, oh man, that's really lifted the veil.
Speaking of lifted the veil, you came into our office today and you got to see the whiteboard that had one of the projects we did for you, and you saw my chicken scratch all over that, me standing there interpreting what Boz was saying. And then I think we took all of that and we made it.
It was good to see.
And it was good for you to actually have it. So
I enjoyed seeing your chicken scratch on the whiteboard.
Excellent. And I've enjoyed having you here for this podcast, and hopefully we'll have you back again. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks. We'll be taking a break over the summer, and we will be back with season 2 of TBR Talks in September. In the meantime, send us your key intelligence questions on business strategy, ecosystems, and management through the form in the show notes below, and visit tbri.com to learn how we help tech companies, large and small, answer these questions with the research, data, and analysis my guests bring to this conversation every week. Once again, I'm your host, Patrick Heffernan, Principal Analyst at TBR. Thanks for joining us, and see you next season.